Hello everyone, it's Cancel here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new ML5, Rhianna and Luciella. This is a really interesting release because they're the first tag team character that we have ever had in the game, and unlike most heroes who has like a fixed set of abilities, RNL can swap between each other during the battle, and depending on which one is currently active, their S1 and S2 will function differently. And it's been about a week since RNL was released, and from my experience, they are extremely strong. Definitely a must pull in my opinion. These two have like a buff strip, defense break, AoE fear. They do really high damage, and they get a lot of free stats from their special effect in their skill, which makes them very easy to build. And on top of that, they're the newest, fastest unit in the game with a base speed of 132, which is 3 speed higher than the previous fastest base speed unit, like Renak or Run. So it's really hard to speed contest RNL right now. And yeah, let's get started with their kit. Okay, so let's start with the S3. So the S3 is the same regardless of whether you are using Rhianna or Luciella. This skill dispels two buffs and then inflicts fears on all of the enemy units, and it grants them a barrier for 3 turns. In addition to that, this gives them a special effect that grants 70% evasion and increase their effectiveness and crit damage by 30% of their speed. So because of this, you don't need to build much crit damage or effectiveness for RNL because they gain a huge amount, especially if you're 300 plus speed. Like for instance, with 300 plus speed, you don't need any effectiveness to debuff 100 ER units because of the free stats provided from the effect. So the S2 is probably the strongest part of their kit. Both versions are a single target attack, but they have different effects. For Rhianna, she strips two buffs before inflicting bind and defense break. She then switched to Luciella and grants an extra turn. The bind in the kit just makes this attack very strong because it stops units like Perfumer Wibbles. And if the target has a debuff after the attack, it will deal some additional damage before they switch. For Luciella, the S2 is a single target attack that gives itself the attack buff before switching to Rhianna and gives them an extra turn again. This time, the extra attack condition is if the target health is below 50% of the attack. 50% of the HP, my bad. The Soulburn effects are also different for each form. Rhianna's Soulburn is Ignore ER, while Luciella is Increased Damage Dealt. And lastly, we have the S1, which is similar to the S2. Both are just single target attacks, but with different effects. For Rhianna, her S1 inflicts a new debuff called Erosion. This works similarly to Poison, but it deals more damage if the target health is lower. And for Luciella, her S1 provides some sustain to herself. So yeah, her kit is just extremely stacks and they pretty much have everything. They can debuff, they do good damage, and I've already seen RNL one-shotting tanks in RTA, and they're also very difficult to kill because of the evasion, barrier, and the self-healing from their kit. Okay, so let's talk about their builds. For RTA, the most common build is simply to make her as fast as possible, and you want to prioritize attack because she already gains a lot of crit damage from her passive. And ideally, you want to give her pen set, torrent, or the new set, the fervor set. Well, unfortunately, I don't have any of those with like 20 plus speed. I've also seen some players build her slightly slower. For example, building RNL slower than New Moon Luna, which can be useful in certain situations and it can catch people off guard as well. As for her artifacts, right, most people are running them with Fellow Talisman because this allows RNL to reach 100% evasion. However, any other damage artifact or other evasion artifacts works just fine for her. Symbol of Unity is also a popular option because a lot of players drop Setsuka into RNL as there isn't any reliable answer to her right now. For Guild War and Arena, right, she's probably the most toxic unit on defense right now because you can easily trap your opponent using RNL. For example, the RNL plus Notos is probably the new Guild War meta defense, and there aren't many safe ways to attack it. Like for example, many player bring Zio, Latwik, and Harseti into RNL Notos plus 1 on defense, but this can be beaten easily by a tanky RNL or if the Notos is holding Bastion of Pelusia, right? Because if the Ludwig misses and RNL survives, she will 3v1 your team easily. And also right now, there aren't many units that can tank RNL in Guild War. Like, the only unit that can reliably tank her is just Genesis Ross. But that comes with issues himself, right? Because Genesis Ross doesn't deal with Holy Sectotos, so yeah, it's not the best, but it's probably the best option right now, if that makes sense. Moon Bunny also doesn't really solve the problem because RNL S3 will still fear the rest of the team, right? And to begin with, you need to hope that the Moon Bunny survives the RNL S2. So yeah, overall, she's just extremely annoying to deal with on defense. And yeah, I think that's all that I have regarding RNL. I think she's easily a must pull unit, so if you have the resources to pull her, you should definitely pull for her because her kit is just pure stack. And that's all from me in this video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.